Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Class 47P YouTube channel. And you're joining me today for another review, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Hornby BR 462 Britannia Class 7MT, number 70,000 Britannia. Now, the Hornby BR Britannia class is something that I've been wanting to get for years. It's a locomotive that I've wanted to have for the fleet, but I never got one before. So just after Christmas, I was browsing through Model Railway Emporium's eBay store, and I saw that they were selling some of the Hornby Britannias, and one of them happened to be 70,000 Britannia itself. And it's brand new, unused, never been opened, and so I took the chance and I bought it, and that's exactly what I did. And the reason I've gone for Britannia is because it's one of the two preserved ones. I have seen Britannia in real life, and I do love this locomotive, and that's the reason why I've brought this particular one. So without further ado, I'm going to get straight into the unboxing, and then we're going to get the model down on the layout and we're going to have a look at it. So I'm really looking forward to this. Okay, halt the unboxing for a sec. I've just noticed that we have, with this model, a bag of real coal for the tender of the locomotive that's been included with this model. Now, this is not something that Hornby have supplied with the model, because this locomotive was from a collection from someone who already owned this model before, and the model has never been ran. So for that reason I can only assume that this was perhaps intended to be perhaps part of a project that the owner planned to put real coal in the tender of the locomotive, but never got round to it. And that's not something I expected to see. So that is a really nice thing to have, and I shall be putting the real coal load in the tender of this model. Okay, so we can now go back to the unboxing. So here we have 70,000 Britannia unboxed and down on the layout. Now, one thing I should point out at this point is connecting the loco to the tender, it is a bit of a pain, because it has the plug that fits into a socket and the plug is attached to wires. So it is a bit fiddly to do. What I did was I turned the loco upside down and placed it onto a towel, so that way it was on a soft surface, because the last thing you want to do is to damage the loco whilst trying to connect it up to the tender. And so I managed to do that without damaging the model, so that's good. But I'm not going to complain about that otherwise, because considering that this loco is now discontinued and it comes in the old polystyrene packaging, back then you did have to connect the locos up to the tender. You don't have to anymore, because the loco has already come connected to the tenders. But that's just a little minor niggle. As for the model itself, straight out of the box there was no quality control issues, there was no damage done to the model or any detail parts that had to be glued back on. So it's in the usual high quality finish that we expect straight from the box. However, the quality of the running was a different kettle of fish, because straight out of the box it did run jerky, as you can see in this shot here. Now, given the fact that this loco was owned by a previous owner, which was never ran, well, I can only assume it hasn't been used because it was listed as brand new and unused. So whether the owner did previously take the model out of the box to test run it, I don't know. But regardless whether it was a case of whether it's never been ran or had very little use, it was clear that it needed running in. Because I have done some research on this. This loco was first released in 2006. So it's spent perhaps 15 years in its box. So what I did was I gave it some lubrication and I let it run in for an hour in both directions, and now it runs very smoothly. It's like spreading chocolate spread on toast. And it is also worth mentioning as well that when running in reverse it did make a clicking noise at first. That's now disappeared. So it's really important that you run these locomotives in, especially ones such as Britannia here that first came out in 2006, that have spent most of their time sat in the box and never been used. It's really important. So don't just let them run in for just a few minutes. Let the models bed in. So if you do get a model like this, then straight out of the box it does run jerky, don't just send it back straight away. Let the model run in for at least an hour or more, and it will then run as you expect it to. Just like Britannia here. So it is important to let your models run in. Now we move on to the detail. So first of all, as standard, we have sprung metal buffers. We have rivets on the buffer beam, and you also have the holes there in the buffer beam for the detail parts from the accessory bag to go into. The footsteps underneath the running plate have already been pre-fitted, so that saves you having to fit them yourselves. On the running board we have separately fitted lamp irons. On the smokebox door we have the locomotive's number plate, 70,000, crisply applied there. We have separately fitted smokebox door darts. We have a separately fitted handrail and a separately fitted lamp iron on the smokebox door as well. On the smokebox door we have a shed plate, and it says 30A, and that's the shed code for Stratford. Now we move on to the smoke deflectors. As you can see, we have some very nice rivet detail on those. We also have the locomotive's nameplates, Britannia, and they are crisply applied. You don't get any etched nameplates with the model, but that's totally fine. I think the printed nameplates look nice, but you can find etched nameplates from other places, such as Fox Transfers. And also, the smoke deflectors have separately fitted metal handrails, which the Britannias did originally have the handrails on the smoke deflectors. However, after the accident in 1955 at Milton, Oxfordshire, which involved 7T026 Polar Star, the handrails were replaced with hand holes cut into the smoke deflectors, and the reason for that is because the accident was blamed on the handrails on the smoke deflectors obscuring the driver's view. Just look at all the link motion there. You got the valve gear, the slide bars, and the side rods. Now, to be able to see all that moving on the model, that's going to be fantastic, as it is on the real thing. And also there's very nice detail on the cylinders as well, with some nice crisp lining applied on those. On the boiler we have some separately fitted steam pipe detail, as well as a separately fitted metal handrail. Always a pleasure to see those details. We also have the safety valves, which have been made out of turned brass, and they look really nice. We also have all the pipe work on the firebox there, and that's all been separately fitted and painted, and that just looks stunning. And underneath the running plate and cab, where the rear pony truck is, you can see we have some more separately fitted pipework detail, and again painted. And on the pony truck we have the axle box and the spring there. And the pony truck itself, it is a floating wheel, but to be honest you can't really tell that the pony truck wheel is floating when the model is running. In all of the windows on the cab we have glazing. Also on the rear tender windows there's also glazing fitted to those, as you can see. And also on the sides of the cab there we have what I suppose you could call the window frames there, or even side mirrors even. And they're separately fitted. On the rear of the cab you have this extension just here, as per on the prototype. And that has some separately fitted metal handrails. On the cab roof we have some nice rivet detail and some cab roof vents which do open. Now it is always a pleasure to see the painted cab interior detail in these models, and with Britannia it's no exception. You've got the pipework there, the gauges, the dials, the regulator, the lever, it's all painted, which looks fantastic. And with the gauges, they're actually made out of plastic, so it gives the effect that they look as if they're made out of glass. And just look at the printed detail on the dials there, that's second to none. Now we move on to the livery application of this model, which is absolutely flawless. There's no imperfections on the livery anywhere at all. It's an even coat of paint, and it's a beautiful shade of green as well. And the lining on this model has been crisply applied. On the running plate, on the sides of the cab, on the boiler bands and on the tender. It just looks fantastic. The locomotive's number, 70,000, is crisply applied on the cab sides, and the BR Early emblem crest is crisply applied on the tender sides. Moving on to the tender wheels are metal, which is great. We have lots of rivets on the tender body, and on the frame to the tender we have some nice rivet detail, as well as axle boxes and springs there. In the tender we do have a coal load which can be removed, but I'm going to leave the coal load in there and scatter the real coal load that came with this model on top of the plastic coal load that you get. On the top of the tender we have some rivet detail and separately applied metal handrails. On the rear of the tender we have a separately fitted ladder on the back. We have loads of rivets, as well as some separately fitted handrails, again made of metal, separately fitted lamp irons. Again, just like on the loco, the tender buffers, they are made out of metal and they are sprung. Also, this loco does come with NEM sockets, so you can fit NEM couplings in, which you do get one in the accessory bag. But I'm not going to be using the coupling, I'm going to be using a hunt coupling instead. On the other side of the loco, we again have separately fitted pipework underneath the cab and under the running plate where the rear pony truck is. That's all separately applied and some of it is painted. Again, we have separately fitted pipework on the firebox and painted. You've also again got the separately fitted metal handrail on the boiler there, as well as some separately fitted steam piping and the all important whistle, which has been separately fitted. So now I'm going to talk about the accessories from the detail pack which I have fitted to this model. Apart from the brake rigging, because you're never going to really see it, so I didn't see much point in fitting that. So I fitted the drain cocks to the cylinders, as you can see, and also fitted the buffer beam detailing, and all those detail parts slotted into the holes neatly and perfectly. On the tender I fitted the vacuum pipe, as you can see, as well as the screw link coupling. Now I do have an admission with that, because there should have been a screw link coupling for the tender supplied in the detail pack, but there wasn't, so I don't know what happened there. But it's a good job that I never throw any spare detail parts away that I get with accessory bags, because I looked through one of my spares boxes and I managed to find one that was suitable to fit into the tender. And also I fitted a hunt coupling, and this was the last B coupling that I had, would you believe it? However, one of the clips on the end was broken, so I've had to glue it into the NEM pocket. But that's not going to be a problem, because the glue I've used Yoo-hoo glue, it's strong enough to hold it in place, but I can still remove it at a later date if I wish. So I've added some of the real coal that came with this model in the tender, And so all I've done is, it's basically been a small amount of PVA on a brush, brushed it into the tender, then I just filled up the tender from the bag using the coal by pouring it into the tender. Then I got my treated PVA glue and placed that on top. So that's now the end of my review for 70,000 Britannia from Hornby. So my conclusion for this model is, it's a superb model. I'm going to overgloss the fact that this model ran jerkily at first, straight out of the box, because as I mentioned earlier, this model has sat in its box for, what, 15 years? It came out in 2006. It's never been ran, or perhaps even had very little use, so therefore it needed to bed in, and it has done now, and it no longer runs jerkily. And I'm going to overgloss that the loco and the tender, they're fitted to connect, because nowadays you don't have to do that with these models. But the model is superb. It had no problems with it otherwise, as I say. There's no issues with quality control, no damage to the model. It's exactly as you expect it to be when you first get it. And it really is a superb model. And it's just something right now I could just sit at and look at all day, because it's that superb. And so I've wanted a Britannia Class locomotive in the fleet for a very long time, and now I finally got one, and I couldn't be happier. So if you can get this particular model, 70,000 Britannia, or any of the other Britannia locomotives that Hornby have produced, it's definitely worth getting if you're a fan of steam and if you like your BR standards. Got to have a Britannia. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to get this locomotive, pulling a rake of coaches around the layout to end the review. So thank you all very much for watching this video, and I hope you've enjoyed watching it. As ever, subscribe to the channel if you like what you see. Don't forget to subscribe, and also click the bell so you can get notified. Check out all my other videos I have on the channel. There's plenty of great stuff on my channel that you guys will like watching. Also, don't forget to post a comment if you wish, and also smash the like button, and I'll see you again next time. But until then, stay safe and take care. Ta-ra.